One of the things we'll talk about in a moment about the beautiful business that you all have is that's why DIY doesn't always work, right? Because you don't have someone outside of yourself to say, something isn't quite, that's not quite right. Here's the one thing that I would want to bring to clients. In addition to finding authentic, aligned clients, I want to make sure that their messaging is working for them, right? And I think that's the little part of the puzzle that's often missing, is that they know they need to get their messaging out, and they know it needs to be authentic and beautiful, but it needs to serve their goal. And so that means that they need to know that it can serve their goal. So that also means that they need to share what their goal is. So if I do anything, it's making that connection. Because here's the last piece, is that I think sometimes we have messaging and storytelling in our back pocket and we're not using it.
Change the Reel, a podcast with Monique Velasquez and
Piper Kessler. For over 20 years, we've run a video production business that has achieved what only 3% of women entrepreneurs have done.
exceed $250,000 in revenue. We want to see business owners that look like us succeed. That's why we've started this podcast.
Change the Reel will drop twice a month.
We'll release 2 types of episodes. One is with Piper and I kicking it and talking about using video in business.
And the second features conversations with business owners using media to drive diverse perspectives. This is Change the Reel.
Representation starts here. Now let's discuss content strategy for business. We have our friend, Fran Wescott, consultant with content strategy here in Durham. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, Fran, these days.
Well, thank you, and I'm really glad to be here. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I want to turn the camera onto you. But I am a content strategist, which means that I help clients use all different kinds of content to get stuff done. Now, sometimes the stuff that they want to get done might be to expand their repertoire of clients, might be to expand in markets. We'll talk about that in a minute, how you can use media to do that. And sometimes we use content just to deepen the relationship that we have with existing clients. Sometimes I talk to clients who say, well, I've got all the clients I can handle right now. I don't need to do any messaging. I don't need to mess with content because everything's perfect. And of course, we know that's not entirely true, because you can use this kind of medium to make sure that your clients know you. And the reason that's important is because it builds resilience. You're building an actual relationship. So if something goes sideways, whether it's something beyond your control like the economy, or something within your control like an expectation isn't met or an expectation isn't identified, if you have a relationship, you can work beyond it. You can build a relationship with your client through the content that you're creating.
I love this idea of, the story and putting it all together to help you be known,
Yes.
trusted,
Yep.
and liked by your constituents or your clients or whoever, collaborators, partners, whatever it is that's out there going on.
And the world is not static.
It isn't.
No.
And we've talked as a community, as a society, more about the gifts of failure. Like when something does go wrong, it's inevitable, and we can't plan ourselves beyond that eventuality.
Right.
So if we're in a really deep relationship with our clients and we're helping them be in a deep relationship with theirs, it helps us get through those inevitable shortfalls or failures.
That's exactly right. And so our first question, if you don't mind, we've got.
Well, I don't have a question. I just want you to know, it's like whenever we go and hang out with you, it just makes me feel better. It's like, oh, now I'm going to be the one to cry. And so
Join the club.
I mean, it just, I can't even express
How
how important that is.
Yeah, being able to speak with somebody who's so smart and so has this great knack for listening and understanding what we're saying, and then reflecting it back to us.
And I think something's a big problem, and all of a sudden you're like, oh well, and then you just get right
Dissect that
in like
with a
seconds,
scalpel.
and I'm like, well, that was That should have been obvious to me, and it wasn't.
Well, it's never obvious. And that's another reason why one of the things we'll talk about in a moment about the beautiful business that you all have is that's why DIY doesn't always work, right?
Right.
Because you don't have someone outside of yourself to say,
Okay.
something isn't quite,
Right.
that's not quite right. And so I think that's something that we have in common as service providers as well as clients, right? And I think that's one of the strengths in providing a messaging or communication tool to a client is that it gets our client outside of themselves. It allows somebody outside of their own ecosystem to see them, and it shows them how to show up then to their clients. Does that make sense?
It does. But it does lead us to this first idea, and that is giving flowers or recognizing somebody, honoring somebody for shaping your entrepreneurial journey, or giving credit to someone that you don't know, that you don't know who they are, but you're like, they inspired me, or they really modeled something that I want to also model.
Oh, and something that they offer to the community.
Is there somebody out there that you want to give?
Well, I know that one of the many things that is important to you all, and it's important to me, but only mindfully so in recent memory, and that is inclusion. And I mean that beyond just diversity. I mean inclusion. I think sometimes I think of my clientele, my prospective clientele, as very specific, and it's important to do this work to figure out who your ideal client is, because you want to attract clients that are aligned. But I think I put my clients in economic boxes rather than in looking more holistically at my aligned client. It's like I can't decide who can or can't afford my services, right?
That's right. Don't
I
reach into
can
their
only
pockets.
decide who is aligned with my values and who is aligned with what I want to help them accomplish. I can only figure out if my client wants to show up to their clients. I mean, some folks just don't want to, and that's fine, but they're not my client.
That's right.
So I think that's one of the things that you all have helped me see is that I've thought too narrowly about who my clients and collaborators might be, and I need to be serious about broadening that so that I can, include people who are aligned, people for whom inclusion and diversity and equity is important, but also not decide for them whether or not they can afford my services, because we might find ways to work together that are creative and, sort of build a relationship now and then have a business relationship in the future.
That's right. So a little bit about your business. Tell us about your business. What's the heart of what you do?
Okay.
And what keeps you motivated to keep showing up and doing what you're doing?
I help people connect with their audiences, whoever they may be. And usually, and I'm so grateful, Piper, that you mentioned before that I'm a good listener, because that's fundamental. If you work with me, the one thing that you're guaranteed to get is a lot of questions. Right? That's not always, you all know this, it's not always comfortable, is it?
No, it is not. It isn't.
We're about to turn the camera on you and figure that out.
Okay.
But I think it's important for folks to know that. I want to work with folks who are okay with sharing with me what's important to them in their business, what they're trying to accomplish. It could be short-term goals, because we want to make sure that their content and their messaging are aligned with their goals so that they're actually helping them accomplish their goals. Right. But maybe longer term too. I mean, it could be that you want to build a more transactional sort of business, and that's fine. There's beautiful sort of clinical cleanliness in that, right? You want like 1,000 clients and they can use this product and they can accomplish their goals with it. But it could be that you want a more relational business. And so those are the kinds of things I'm going to ask a gazillion annoying questions, but I'm going to listen deeply and put it to work.
What makes you want to do this work?
Oh, people. Isn't that just terrible? It's so I mean, that's such a pat answer, but it's true. It's people. I really enjoy hearing people's stories, learning about their businesses, and what a privilege to get to maybe contribute to that, help them sort of discover something
That is one of the things that keeps us going too. Because
Really?
like being able to help people like you that have this amazing energy that we see make an impact in community and society. And so like to be just like a little help with the little stepping stone to make that all happen on your side, bloom. We love that. We love
It's
that.
fun.
It's
It
fun.
is fun.
It is fun.
Well, I mean, let's turn now. It really is your turn.
Okay.
Don't you think?
We're going to hand it over to you.
Okay.
And so
Because I'm dying. I think this is something that I really have wanted to know, though. I don't want to put you on the spot, but really my question is the genesis of this business, because it could be, there are a lot of people out there with just video businesses, and there's nothing wrong with that, again. But you all started with something, and you started with a diversity of experience, but you've built it into something more. So do you mind telling me a little bit about what you've built and how it has emerged? I mean, you provide video, and you've provided video and everything, but it's more than that. So I'm sort of looking for how you came to where you are now, but maybe how what you do is more than just video.
the inception and the idea was to create a production company that provided Spanish language information so that community would be able to make economic and social decisions about their world, and how they maneuvered their family. And so it impacted community in my world. In my world, that's how, the whole point of creating the business. Now, yes, a lot of it is in English, but ultimately what happens is when we get called to do the Spanish language part, it becomes my job to educate the client. It's not an afterthought. I'm not going to do this and just translate it with Google Translate and just go with that. I'm actually going to make it culturally interesting and connect in a more authentic way to the audience. So we talk about language specificity for country.
Okay.
Because as we know that the predominant Hispanic population comes from Mexico. It's like over 50%. And then in certain areas and certain cities, it becomes a little bit more dissected. Some of them come from El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and then it sort of breaks down Colombian. And what's interesting is the fact that, you talk to somebody who's Anglo who doesn't understand that. And I was like, well, what's the difference? Well, it's like the slang in Boston is going to sound different than the slang in Atlanta.
Yep.
The verbiage that you use for certain cultural things is going to be very different.
And the inflection.
I was going to say in the inflection.
And the accents.
Yeah, and the accents.
Oh, right.
The accents
Of course.
themselves. Right?
Okay.
And so some of it is word choice, some of it is cultural, what you're adding there. And so it becomes it's an education for our client that it's not an afterthought if we're brought in.
Right.
Because we're going to pass, we're going to move on if that is what they're after. Because what's the point? I'm not going to do it if you don't have a capacity to help them in Spanish, if that's what you're doing. And so that is the inception, the concept. Now, we do a lot of community impact, and we also do it with the idea, it's interesting to hear in Durham, and that is, we kept hearing from, I think it was the police chief's office, we need to include more diversity, or maybe it was more diversity on screen. And in a town like Durham, which is majority minority, what they were saying is they needed more white people on screen.
Did you hear that right away? I mean, that's see, and that's a skill that you have as well, because you have context. You understand the community, and you were able to either intuit or research what it is they meant.
That's right.
And that's something that not everyone is willing to do.
Right. And so
And you guys are.
that was
Yeah,
one
because
of
we started looking at their past stuff and all, and we were like, oh, there's no white faces.
right. And so it's like, oh, we have to work and in a different direction for
Yeah,
this, because
right.
a lot of times we are doing things for our clients, and we are given the on-screen talent to, oh, go visit this person, they'll be on screen for us. And we notice, oh, we don't have any black or brown faces, we don't have any women, we don't have even somebody who's blind or differently abled, or might wear a yarmulke or a hijab.
Gotcha.
So there are some of these things that we'll ask and see if there is. It becomes hard sometimes because you don't want to be too heavy-handed in that sort of presentation sometimes, but we're always looking for opportunities to be able to include that on camera. So that is something we do, and in order to show that our community and who they're talking to isn't just the white guys or the white women or the black women or the Hispanic young folks. It can be somebody who is a different faith or differently abled.
It's so great that you're listening for your clients. You're listening
Right.
to, you're not just like, okay, tell me what it is you want, and then fulfilling an order. I mean, do you like that part of the work? Piper, tell me.
I would rather have that. I mean, because I think we have so many times where they've already seen other people that are possibly going to fill the contract, and you see it hit their face of, well, nobody asked us. Either nobody asked us a question where they're like, all of a sudden, the first time we ask a question, they're looking up and you get this odd reaction, or it's nobody asked us that question, and they will flat out say that.
Really?
And it's like, I don't want to say, I mean, I'm just like, how did they not ask you that question? I mean, in order to do this work. But we also get the reaction of, we walk in and it's two women.
Yeah.
Oh, now, is that a surprise?
That's a surprise, I think, a lot of times.
We had somebody was escorting us to one of those discussions about projects, and that they had already had a discussion with other companies, and the person who was escorting us back said, y'all are women, you guys need to make sure that you charge as much as the guys are charging, which I thought was interesting, because they assumed that we were not going to do that, but they wanted to make sure that we understood that we should have the same value as some of the other vendors that were mostly guys. So that was interesting.
That was not, it was kind of nice. It was like, we like being different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, if they don't like the idea of difference or whatever, then I don't want to waste their time either.
Well, and if somebody who notices that you're a woman and Latino-owned business is going to be more aligned,
Yes, that's true.
right, with what you want to accomplish. And your client, you kind of like working with women and minority-owned businesses, right? And
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that. It's not that those businesses are better or necessarily by definition different, but you do say in on your website that there is a kind of resonance with that client. Tell me more about that. What would you love to see in a client, a prospective client?
And a prospective client. I mean, well, we had this discussion, and Monique was like, well, who would be your ideal client? And I was like, oh, okay, let me think about this. And I was like, well, a woman, and who has the same values. It's coming from the same place, so that trusts us and we can trust. When she said, who is your ideal client, I looked at the clients that I really enjoy serving. And it's like, we end up almost having a friendship. Well, it is a friendship, a work friendship. Mm-hmm. And it makes it so enjoyable and fun. And then when we went through the whole thing, and then I was like, okay, and then if I was to put the cherry on top, I have to say I would prefer it would be a woman of color. I don't know why. That's a comfort zone. I don't know, but I don't like going on set and the person who's in front of the camera and everybody who's behind the camera look totally different, and that I feel like they're having to wear a shield.
Right.
And I know that if we have that client there, I know that they immediately are going to be put at ease.
That's right.
And to get them there quicker is a joy, and to see that come across their face, and that comfort, because I know as part of the LGBTQ, it's like I walk into a room, do I need to wear a shield?
Yep.
And I can only imagine, it's like that's not necessarily seen on my face.
Right.
And for someone, I know what that feels like for me.
And so, focusing on, what looks like us, right? Piper shows up and they're not necessarily thinking, oh, the other part of the business is a minority, Latino. And so me showing up adds a different dimension to what the experience is for the person that is our client. Also for the client to understand what we're doing in front of the camera, because it becomes a shorthand for, oh, maybe we'll get a different perspective.
Yep.
And so for us, I think that right there becomes part of the shortcut for us, and why working with minorities, they understand what the shortcut is.
That's true, but it's also nice for people who are watching or listening, who are male and perhaps not of color, to know that you are bringing that sensibility with you. And it's not that any client, any business that identifies an ideal client is not saying, I can't work with anyone else. What they're saying is these are, and that's why I'm glad that you elaborated on why it is that you enjoy working on this particular, with this particular ideal client, Piper, because you've identified elements of the relationship that really work well. So regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, somebody who resonates with openness, with inclusion, with transparency in front of the camera or under any circumstance when you're messaging, that's going to resonate. That's also your ideal client. But you learn to recognize it in some communities. So I'm really glad that you've both taken the time to sort of think about that, because it helps both the client and the business or service provider, right? Don't you think?
Yes.
So
Yeah, I would think so.
one would hope.
That's
Well, one of the things, so understanding this is where you're coming from, and this is the kind of client with whom you want to work. Let's turn our attention now to, this is a big, wide, beautiful, sometimes world of video production and digital messaging, and we see it all, don't we? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're listening to podcasts, if you're looking at social media, if you're checking out websites, if you're doing anything professional, you're going to see the gambit
right.
of what's happening in video. So let's talk about trends. And because I'm an affirming kind of person, I'm going to say, let's talk first about the trends that we love and what you all can bring to your clients to capture those positive trends.
So I'm seeing this trend of different voices and the equalization of social media having those voices speak to their own communities. Now, it spills out to other communities. Like, I might not be interested in, well, I am interested in that, but I might not be interested in ponies, but there might be black cowboys out there, talking about ponies. And so that becomes an interesting thing, right? So I think that is a positive trend, to have these different voices talking about things that are interesting in different niches, and that it isn't necessarily coming from the big ranches that have the money, and that social media and being able to just hold your cell phone up and do that is an amazing thing to do.
Equalizer.
It is the great equalizer. YouTube, when it came out, I recognized it as the great equalizer, because you didn't have to have the money to buy airtime to be on TV anymore. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the other trends of just having that just so accessible.
And I feel like things are becoming so authentic.
Ooh.
And authenticity is a word that's being more and more used. And it's you see it, right? And that's also due to, I think, the equalization And now it becomes more when you do see an inauthentic voice, it stands out even more. And I never knew what it was. I knew when we went and worked with somebody, I was like, wow, I really enjoyed listening to her. And it was that authenticity. It was like, I'm going to say what I say. And, it is scripted a little bit, but I'm not going to change my voice.
Yep.
Just because I would say it this way if I was talking to one person, I would say it this way if I was talking to 1,000.
Right.
And I think that's a trend, and I like it. I like seeing that trend.
Right. I think those two are like right up there.
I think you all navigate that trend particularly well, especially when it comes to authenticity, because one of the things that you've helped with me when we've worked together is that you've helped me speak authentically and identify how to stay on brand. In other words, I don't have to talk a certain way to conform to my brand. My brand is me talking a certain way authentically. And I think you help bring that to video, which is really interesting. And I think it's because you make space for people to bring who they are, which hopefully is aligned with their brand, to their clients. Is that something that you, because video hasn't always been about authenticity. No. So that's new. Is it just something that came naturally with you because it's so resonant? Or is there, there's an art to it? Because if there weren't an art to it, everyone could do it, right?
Yeah, I think it comes down to liking who's in front of the camera.
Oh, okay.
And connecting so that you don't feel like there's a barrier, a guard, a shield, right?
Right.
If I don't know you as well, I do my best to connect with you as a human.
Right.
Make you laugh because I'm goofy. I'm going to cry if you tell that story so that we're connecting. Right?
Fun. Yes.
As opposed to, I need to cry when I hear this story, and then you're like, what are they doing? It's like, oh, they're trying to set themselves up.
Right. So it's about
That's
connecting.
Right. That's a distinction.
It's about connecting. And so for us, that is the way, right? Mm-hmm. Because, and why we want to connect with women, LGBTQ minorities, because we can connect faster.
Yep.
I've worked with lots of guys in front of the camera, clients, and we connect. They're open-minded and they're mindful about diversity and sharing the stage and the mic with different voices.
There's other stuff there too. It's the openness they have.
That's right.
The openness and all.
And so it's easier for them. Some of I'm thinking about Kevin, taking the mic and being authentic because they're used to being in front of the crowd and doing that, but they're willing to share the mic.
That's
and so we're going to say, change the reel. He's willing to hand it over to the story. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you a chance to drive.
Yeah, he's not the center. He knows he's always mission based, right? Mm-hmm. And it comes across in everything he says, everything he does.
And so we don't have to do anything to get him to be authentic.
Right.
It's who he is. He shows up that way.
Except that you noticed it.
Yes.
And you knew
That's
it.
True.
And
yes.
you understood the distinction between his mission and his personality and what he brings and what he wants to present.
Yes.
Right.
That's both art and craft, right? And that's something that might separate you from other people too, because you're understanding that distinction.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's that truth. And truth to me is authenticity. And it's like, when anybody lies, it's like, oh my God, now you've got to keep that lie.
Yes.
You've got to stay there.
You got to keep up with it.
And
remember
it's like, oh my God, that's so exhausting. and you want to, people getting in front of the camera, they're like, oh, I've got to, and it's like, if you tell them, no, just bring yourself to it. We're not talking about acting,
right.
Just bring yourself to it. Then you won't have to. Now you're relaxed and you don't have to go, oh, I have to be this person.
And there are a lot of people that still have those shields. And we've had folks that just couldn't bring it down and be who they are. They were just terrified. And, that's a difficult thing to experience with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. People want to weep.
Have you had to explain to someone the ROI of making a transparent, content or messaging, and what's I want the return on investment. It doesn't help my business if I'm transparent and I share myself. Well, how would you counter that? Because really the answer is, if you're able to do it, how does it pay?
So for me, it's attract like-minded, willing to connect, like, know, and trust you.
Ooh.
And the other is repel.
Ooh.
Right? So that's where I'm always about. It's like, who are you going to repel?
Oh, I like that.
And that was the first time I ever heard when somebody was like, no, it's okay to repel those clients that you shouldn't have.
Right.
They would be better served by somebody else. And when they said that, I was like, what? I was repel. Oh, that makes it easy for me.
Yeah.
And easier for them because they don't have to pretend working with me.
It's
is
that
okay.
truth thing again.
That's exactly right. And you don't have to say yes to everybody with a wallet.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's a tough lesson.
That is
a tough one.
Right. That's right.
I mean, it's to their benefit. I mean, we have had that almost blunt conversation of, I think you'd be better served by someone else. I don't think that we're going to be the best option for you.
Yeah,
best fit.
Yeah.
And it's honest.
And so, like, that idea that when you meet somebody and you're connecting or you're not jiving a whole lot, that's when you say, hey, sounds like a great project. It's not one for me. Mm-hmm. Let me pass you on to somebody competent, qualified, and looking to probably work with you.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to hear a little more about your process, like what it's like to work with you, because we have a sense of your values and how you resonate with clients and who your ideal client is, some of what you bring to those clients. Talk a little bit about what it's like to work with you. Now, I was asking earlier about the difference between like process and organic flow. And you all, probably by virtue of your own partnership, have sort of brought a little bit of both to that. But what are prospective clients' expectations about maybe their initial contact with you?
Right. So I like to do initial contact with, a bevy of questions, and I listen. Because, as you know, listening for the answers and what isn't there.
Ooh.
Right?
Yep.
And what what isn't there? What spaces aren't they filling in? What is it they're, trying
like with the video provider who said, we want to see a diverse faces.
Right. And it's like, oh, well, what? Okay. They didn't say, and they kept saying it, which was, I was like, wait a minute, they're saying something without saying something. What is it they're saying? So again, we asked the questions, like, what kind of diversity are you looking for? Because this is what we've got. It's like, we need more white people. Got it. We're on it.
We can do that.
We can do that. We know how to do that. So sure. And so, asking questions to get started and understanding what their process is going, where their comfort level is, because some people are experienced at having production done for them. Some people are not experienced. Some people are micromanaging, or they want to be filled in, or they want to be educated about the process. We do a lot of education during the process.
Okay.
Because sometimes they don't understand who writes the script, how does the script get written, what happens when the script is done, what the process is. And so we do a lot of questions about what it is they want, what it is their goals are, what is their objectives for the video, because ultimately, we had way early in the 2000s, somebody was like, I need a viral video. I was like, well, you can't just order that up. I mean, we could do our best to make a video and put it out there and start promoting it. But you can't just, we'll do our best, And so it becomes, well, what is it you really want? You just want eyeballs on it? Is that what you're wanting?
Right, because it comes to, well, what is a viral video to you?
Right. What are the measurements that you're going to call success on a video? Is it eyeballs? Is it conversions to sales? Is it phone calls only? Is it, hey, I don't get the wrong kind of phone calls? So there's different ways to measure that. And so listening and asking those questions, and then figuring out what their process is for onboarding those clients.
We ask questions, and then we read the client as for, because I want somebody to be honest with me and be like, they're like, we've had a lot of people say, I have no idea. And it's
Awesome,
like,
because at least they
great.
know it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, great. I mean, yeah, that's like an awesome moment.
Right, because ultimately what happens is I understand what it's like to be on the other side. My dad's a car guy, so I get this, and I use this analogy a lot. I don't have that fear as much. Going to a mechanic and not knowing what they're charging you for.
Ooh, that is a good analogy.
Because I hope that they will say, I don't know what the process is, because they feel comfortable with me, and they're not on guard and not revealing that they don't know what they're talking about, like they're talking to a mechanic trying not to be taken advantage of.
Right.
And so that's when they can tell me, I don't know what the process is, I know that their guard is down, they're being honest about it, and that we can start educating them and figuring out what their process is and what their comfort level is and where they take the helm.
It also starts the relationship.
Yes.
I mean, because even if we've had people that didn't hire us necessarily, but they came back later and were like, I don't understand why it didn't work.
Yep.
When I went with this other, I don't want that to happen again.
That's right.
And so now it's like they did get to that more honest place of, okay, I've seen it when it didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. How are you going to tell me it's going to work? And it's like, great, let's have a conversation. And it's again goes to the authenticity, because you get there quickly, both sides, and now you can let guards down. And I mean, we've also had a client say, I don't think you're the ones who can handle this for me, but I would love to use you in the future on a different project.
Exactly.
And it feels very, I think they're being honest, and they know, and it's like, you know what, I think you might be right from what you're saying.
Well, and that's the ROI, the return on investment, is you allow yourselves and your strengths to be known to your clients, and your prospective clients, you'd love to come like with an honest sort of assessment about what you need or what you want. And then if you don't know, let's work on it together. And you all are great at identifying goals, even where the client, it sounds like, hasn't identified the goal.
It is. A lot of our clients have not done the marketing work.
And possibly because they're not marketers. I mean, in some ways, I'm very specific about content and the mechanics of marketing. Ooh, I will leave that to someone else. I will happily say, I don't understand the mechanics of this particular tactic.
Which gets you to the doing it yourself, right? And it's
exactly.
And I have to say, when people will say, they might meet me at a party or something like that, and they're like, oh, and it's like a confession. Oh, well, we do our videos ourselves. We just have an iPad and iPhone. And I'm like, great. That's great. You're doing it. You're getting it out there. And the authenticity is there. The only issue I have is sometimes when I'm watching it, I get distracted.
Okay.
And I'm like, I hate to watch something and go, oh, your audience is getting distracted. And because,
You're missing your message.
Yeah, and it's because you've put so much on yourself to handle it, right? And it's like, I think it's great. And there are certain things that for sure you can do by yourself. It's when you start trying to go up, that it becomes overwhelming. And let's say, I mean, we've talked
You're
about
leveling up.
Yeah, you're leveling up, and you've got one or two people that work for you. But now maybe you've put the pressure on them, and you don't realize what you've done to your folks, right? And it's like, oh, I feel great because now I'm just in front of the camera. And then you go back and watch and go, well, this is distracting. And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And that's not what their job was, right? Maybe you hired them for something else.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. And because we have those people will come to us and go, I am trying to convince my boss to have a crew,
let me do it. Yeah.
Because I can't handle this anymore. And it's stressing me out. Mm-hmm. We've had that. We're just friendship.
And you can advocate for those people then too.
Yes.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So that's the authenticity goes, sometimes with doing it yourself, but it also can harm you in some ways.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love that. Well, what would you want people to remember about your business? In other words, they say we have on a website, we have 9 seconds to catch someone. And so Now, I'm not saying you have to speak in 9 seconds, but like, what is the one thing that you'd want somebody to get from contact with you if you're at a party, say, Piper, that same party?
Oh boy, I would just want them to be comfortable with me. It's
Rock
like,
on, yep.
yeah, and then I think that, because if they're like, oh, I could be on set with this person. I mean, because I think that's how when I get asked again to a set or whatever, I think that's the number one thing. It's like, oh, you were comfortable. That would be the number one thing. It's like, I remember her because
I feel like I
kinda
could be
noticed
comfortable.
her, but I was comfortable with her, but I didn't notice her too much.
I'm all about like the confidence, right? Like, snap. I don't have to worry.
Right.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's smart.
True.
It's like, I don't have to worry. I'm confident that it'll be done right. It'll be on time. I'm confident that I am going to look good when it's out. And I'm confident that I'm spending the money and making the right decision to do this with Velasquez Media.
Yeah, they're helping me to get my goals met.
That's right. Confident that money...
And I'm going to be comfortable doing it.
Yes.
Because we're going to be resonant. We're going to know one another. We're going to have understood expectations.
That's right.
Rock on. Velasquez Media.
Yeah, so...
I feel like that comes across though.
Oh, good.
And I love that. And I
so.
love that there are these two distinct personalities bringing that to being.
Yeah, making the business reflect both of us. I don't know how that happened. I guess we shared those things, right? Like we shared those things and we were authentic about doing it, and we're not trying to put a different face on who we are and what we do. So we're happy to work together.
So
at least I hope you.
I'm going to ask this question.
So
okay?
Are we out of time?
No, I mean, but
Yeah.
are we through your process? Do you have something to reflect back to us about what we've got?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I mentioned earlier, that working with you all is fun, but I also have a sense that I can put myself in your hands. Because like I said, I have a pretty good handle on the content, and bringing the content out and trying to...
And that's all you should have to worry about.
Exactly. And so I feel like when I come to you all, I know I can have faith in the fact that I can be comfortable. This is what I have to say. We did a workshop once on emergency communications, and it was so effortless because all of the logistics were handled by someone else. All I had to do was bring my little purse full of content, little ideas, and then open it up and dig down in there and bring it out, and you all handled the rest. And it sounds like, a little walk in the park, but what I understand is that I couldn't have done it on my own, right? This is why it really resonated when you said one of the things that we try to, counter is this sense that I have to do it myself.
Right.
And it's not easy. I mean, I can tell, if somebody doesn't know yet, I will share with you, it's not easy, right?
Right.
And so I make it sound like, oh, and then it was just done. But
Right.
you
So
guys...
we think a production is a success if the people in front of the camera had a good experience.
Yes.
They didn't feel the pressure that we had, that this camera wasn't doing this, or the mic was doing that, or the
Right.
lights, or the cables were too short, or
'Cause that's
whatever
our
it is.
problem.
Because that's our problem. We want the audience and the person in front of the camera to have a smooth experience where all they were thinking about was
Their
their
little
content.
purse full of messages.
Well, it's like, to me, it's also like a partnership. It's like you were talking about, all I have to do is worry about the content. And I'm like, that's huge. That is huge. It's like, I'm not the expert.
That's right.
I want you to be totally focused on what the content is and what you need to get across, and not worry about any of the other stuff. That's the place we need that person to do, because I'm not the expert. She's not the expert. You may have told us 1,000 times, but if you're having to split your attention between, are we getting lunch for everybody? Make sure it's coming. Has anybody done that?
Yeah. Do we have enough vegetarian options?
Then you're split.
Right.
You're out of what you have a huge job.
Right.
And I recognize that. It's like, that's why I don't want to be in front of the camera. It's like, it's like, and I totally respect that person that has to be in front of the camera.
Totally.
I don't care if they're an actor or if they're the expert or what they are. And it's like any distraction from them, I was telling Simon earlier, it's like, if I hear, because I'm usually listening, if I hear them being like, oh, what's going on over there? I'm immediately going, okay, they're distracted. They're distracted, and I need the producer to know they're distracted, or I need to go and say, hey, I'll find out what's going on, but don't worry about that. That's my job, is to get you back into
content mode.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, because I know you work with clients like who are financial services people and who are nonprofit leadership. And so they're all bringing different things in front of the camera, but you all are great at making sure that that space is amenable to all of us, regardless of what we're bringing in front of the camera.
That is appreciated to hear, and thank you.
It's so real. Like even coming today and talking to you guys, I'm like, woohoo! It's really fun because you handle everything.
Oh, well, we try.
We
try.
You and Simon.
That's right. So we appreciate you taking us through, listening to us and our story.
I love it.
So, and let's circle back around. You work with clients in your own business, and you help them put their stories together.
I do, but here's the one thing, and you mentioned this earlier too. Here's the one thing that I would want to bring to clients. In addition to finding authentic, aligned clients, I want to make sure that their messaging is working for them, right? And I think that's the little part of the puzzle that's often missing, is that they know they need to get their messaging out, and they know it needs to be authentic and beautiful. Thank you to you two, but it needs to serve their goal. And so that means that they need to know that it can serve their goal. So that also means that they need to share what their goal is. So if I do anything, it's making that connection. Because here's the last piece, is that I think sometimes we have messaging and storytelling in our back pocket and we're not using it. Right? Because we're thinking, oh, I did that years ago. And I'm thinking, well, it's good. Good for you. Let's look and see if it's still relevant, still on brand, still serving your goal. If it's still serving your daggum goal, apply it.
Get back to it.
Get back to it. Maybe it needs polishing up. Maybe it doesn't. And you all can even help with polishing up and taking existing work and making it new and relevant, maybe reshooting it, maybe doing something like that. But make that connection.
Right.
The End by Fran Wescott. I'm sorry. She steps off the soapbox.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so when you have these, lost stories that you want to help, repurpose and polish their brand again, do you stick to one kind of medium, or do you just have a gambit? Because I know you are a writer as well.
I'm a writer, but that's not where the magic is. The magic is in bringing out the story in your voice. You were mentioning, both of you, at various points during our conversation, that it needs to come out in the client's voice. And so I can write, and I've learned to write in a client's voice, but that's not sustainable. You don't want to hire me as a writer. What you want to do is you want to identify your voice. You want to make sure it's, a reflection of your brand. And then you want to apply your messaging, the content in that voice to your goals. So I can work with written, but everything that I do lends itself as well to visual and to telling a story in video, telling a story with still images even. And so any kind of messaging can be applied to whatever medium works best for that client. And increasingly that means video. But the number one thing is just to feel like you can do it, right? That it doesn't take, it doesn't take specialized knowledge. I don't have to have all the answers.
No special language, it's just you and your story.
Right, and bring that story to someone who knows how to get it out there. And that's all you have to do. Like you were saying, just bring your own story, and then you all will handle the rest.
We try.
We try.
So here's what I'm going to pivot here a little bit and ask you, what are you doing with your own media experience? You've got a newsletter.
I have a newsletter. It is a little teeny tiny newsletter. And what I do is I sort of hint at things that we might do together in my newsletter. And I have a few little sort of collateral materials, like some information about emergency communications or, brand voice 101, brand style guide 101. And then sometimes it's more about what it's like working with me. And sometimes I'll use video. Not beautiful, but it is just get it out there video, authentic video, for little updates on LinkedIn. And here's a thought. And I think doing those little video snippets gets me in better position to work with professionals because it helps me understand more about the types of stories I want to bring to my prospective clients. And the brevity. I'm not good with brevity. You know this about me.
Right.
Well, but you're really good at like cutting to
That scalpel.
that. I was
Really?
saying, I think of you as a sieve, which I was explaining the other day to somebody what a sieve was, and to me it's more than just a filter. You're sifting through in a quick, very quick way. And getting to, well, this is the core. I mean, like the emergency communications thing. We sat down with somebody, and the first question you said was, well, what do you consider an emergency?
And they said, it blew my mind.
And I was just like,
That's such a basic
that's the
question.
most basic thing. Now we've and it was watching the sieve,
The sieve
right?
at work.
And it was like, oh, well, we just need to start. And it was so obvious to you, but the rest of us are like, oh yeah, we do need to start there.
There's some assumptions going on here. We need to just do that, right? Let's do that. And so I would hope that you're talking about a podcast.
I am.
So there's going to be some of this on there too.
There is, and it's Fran's Table is the name of the podcast.
Nice.
But it's all about the conversations. We're only missing a table here,
I
and
know,
a little
right?
bit of food,
I know. We're
but,
working on it.
But it's really the kind of conversations that we have around the table. And sometimes it's business related and sometimes it's not. And that's part of what you were saying, both of you were saying about building a relationship. Yeah. So it's born of my love of food. I do love food. I love everything about food. I love the making of it and the culture of it and the color of it and the eating of it. But my experience, and there's certainly nothing wrong with eating over the kitchen sink or in front of the TV, nothing wrong with that. But the best conversations on the table.
Yeah, we break bread and we have fellowship.
We do. So that's what it's going to be about. And sometimes we'll talk about business. Sometimes we'll talk about food. And sometimes we'll just talk. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun, yes. And I am super excited about the podcast so I can tune in and hear what you have, because I love catching you up on LinkedIn too, because they're bite-sized nuggets of information. Oh, so amazing.
But I'll get it even shorter, I promise.
I'm happy whatever content
you're
is
kind.
yes, whatever content is out there, because I'll sit still. You engage me, so I'm good.
That's right, we're of an age.
That's right. Let's say that we wanted to visit Fran's Table. Where would we look for Fran's Table? Do we have a spot yet?
We don't have a spot yet.
Okay.
I've done some searching on the distribution to see if there's anyone else like that.
All right, you're doing your due diligence.
Yeah, my
research.
due diligence, make sure that I'm not competing with someone else who's Franny's Table, which is fine too. But
Right.
so distribution, the goal is that I'll distribute it through like all the usual outlets, Apple and Spotify and those guys, YouTube probably.
Right.
Initially, it'll probably be without video, but eventually it absolutely will be with video.
I love that.
Knock, knock, knock.
we will have this conversation.
Okay.
Totally have this conversation. Well, we want to thank you for being here on Change the Real.
Love it.
Because we want to talk about, how we tell stories and how, like, the idea is like in a movie theater, when you're changing the reel, you actually have reel 1, reel 2, reel 2, 3, and, that tells the sequence of the story. But sometimes if you do it out of order, it becomes a different thing.
Ooh, I love that.
And so I believe a lot of what you do is help people like not tell the same story. It helps them change what their story is going to be.
You're exactly right. That's brilliant. You guys, yay.
So that's why we're calling it Change the Real. The other thing is representation starts here. And so with you, you have your own voice. And even if there is another Franny's table, I think Fran's table will be an exceptional experience for everybody who tunes in.
Because there's only one Fran.
There is. God help us.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Change the Real. If you like the episode, subscribe.
Share it or leave a comment. And remember,
Representation starts here. Hasta pronto.
see you soon.